Good morning, Christine and Andy. Aaron Flanagan here with Gorges Volvo. I was trying to get creative with how we were going to do this delivery amid all the social distancing, adhering to social distancing guidelines. So I thought what I would do, rather than sit and run through the car with you in close proximity, is we could make a video and post it to YouTube on the delivery of your brand new XC40 T5 Inscription. So this is going to be about 20 minutes. And I'm going to show you essentially everything on the vehicle that is day-to-day functions. So getting in the car, getting acclimated and acquainted with it. People watching otherwise, you see this on YouTube. If you're interested in the XC40, this will give you a picture of kind of what the car is itself. This one that we have is pretty hard loaded. And as it is the Inscription, it's also an advanced package. It has the upgraded audio system. Just everything that you can get. So without further ado, let's get started. And we got our owner's manual here, your little quick guide. There's some kind of helpful information in there. One of my cards, so if you ever need anything, you know how to contact me. A lot of this, the bulk of this, is actually on the screen inside the car itself. It's on the hard drive. We have our two master keys here. You have the ride-sharing key, so you can actually leave this key inside the glove box. If somebody needs to borrow the car, they can download the Volvo On Call app, unlock the vehicle, jump in, and since the key's in the car, they'll be able to start it. This little one is referred to as the sports activity key. This key is waterproof. Is kind of the advantage to that. So if you're somebody who does a lot of outdoor activities, goes to the gym a lot, goes to the pool, this is a good one to carry because you're not going to be able to hurt it. Obviously these bigger ones, the normal keys, they're not waterproof, so you want to take care of those a little bit more. The only caveat with this little key is it is sealed. I cannot replace the battery in this if it goes dead. So once it's done, we buy a new one in parts. And then we have a key for the glove box. Now the keys themselves have a little button right on the very end, right there. If you press that, and then we're going to slide out, so the way my index finger just moved in front of the camera, trying to do this with one hand is rather interesting. There we go. Slide out. The whole thing is going to clamshell open. There we go. And inside of that, we have a key blade. This little key blade pulls out. So let's say the battery in the key fob is dead and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get into the car. Well, that's a very good question because obviously it doesn't look like we have any lock cylinders. But when you open the door right there, this key will insert into that lock cylinder. We can enter the vehicle, and then we're going to put the key fob itself into the cup holder, and then we'll be able to start the vehicle. Not going to run into this scenario, right away. If you guys burn through a battery in one of these within the first, year, I'd be kind of amazed. So, but that's a scenario where if the key fob battery doesn't work, you can still get inside the car. Normal circumstances, we keep this in our pocket. You do have buttons there for lock, unlock the trunk lid. This is the panic button on the back. Nice little Volvo logo. It's in the same leather that's on the seats. But this is all proximity entry. So I've got the key in my pocket. To enter the vehicle, I just touch the handle. You can see it just unlocked and came open. And now the car is unlocked. We've got our little puddle light. I can enter. If I'm getting out of the vehicle and I want to lock it, this little kind of square indentation, we just press that, and then the car locks. We get a beep to confirm that it's locked, and the mirrors are going to fold in. So yeah, that's unlocking and locking. Where people get in kind of a trick bag is they go to do one of these, where I'm pressing the lock with my thumb, and I'm also touching the touch sensor with my fingers. So here it doesn't know whether to lock or unlock. So just make sure unlock is a very deliberate touch there. Lock is a very deliberate touch here. The other fun feature of the XC40 is we have a gesture-controlled tailgate, meaning I can just wave my foot under the bumper to raise and lower the liftgate. Very specific way that you're going to do this. It's always under this parking sensor. So the second in from the end driver side parking sensor. That's the only place that's going to work. It will not work over on this side, but it will only work right there. So if I wave my foot under just like that, it unlocks, lights come on, trunk lid raises. And then that motion again. So it's kind of just a straight in and straight back out. In and back. Nice little sweep, kind of like that. Just kick in, kick back. You don't need to make contact with anything. Leave your foot very close to the ground, but that's how we're going to raise and lower. And as long as you have the key fob in your pocket, that's going to work. You also have buttons to lower the tailgate and to lower and lock the tailgate, and a little graphic here that reminds you kind of exactly what spot to utilize for this. Sorry for the camera work here as we're going. I'm trying to do this as best I can. This is just not my normal routine. So in the back here, I've got the all-weather mats down. You've got the carpeted ones here. Our trunk mat. This car, remember, has the scalable load floor. So if I put the camera down for just a second. See if this has a good enough view. You can actually fold this up. So here, you can fold that floor up and create kind of a partition. So it just locks in that little channel right there. So now you have two sections of your trunk rather than one. These are for grocery bags. These little kind of towers that stick up. This area here, it's recessed down pretty low. That's because this tonneau cover piece, it actually pulls out and stores underneath here. Then your spare tire, your toolkit sit under that. Okay, I'll put you down one more time. Put our mats back in the car. See if this is a good enough angle you can actually see that. It's the first time I've ever been out here. Okay. So once again, we're going to close that tailgate. So straight under, right back. It's going to close, and there we go. Let's get in. Let's show you some features on the vehicle. I wanted to show you where a lot of the buttons are, just to kind of get started. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's talk about the fuel door. You currently have a Volvo. It's going to be on the passenger side. There is no button to release this door. It actually works in conjunction with the door locks. So if the doors are locked, the fuel door is locked. We just press, it comes open. You notice there is no fuel cap. This is just a valve. So you just put the fuel nozzle directly into there, fill it up. When it clicks off, remove it. There's nothing to click or shut as far as the cap goes. We do recommend you run premium fuel. The focus there, 91 octane. Being a turbocharged engine, that's what's going to get you the best performance and also fuel economy. Okay, now we'll hop in the car. Got our Harman Kardon stereo. We have our memory seats. So full driver, passenger, power seats, 4-way lumbar. We have our power mirrors. These are going to work the same way that the S80 does. You press the right mirror to select the right, use the little toggle to move it around. Same thing for the left. As the icon shows here, if you press left and right at the same time, it'll actually fold the mirrors in. So if you're going to go through a car wash or something, that's really nice to have. These are the child and window locks for the back. So if you heard that, hit the little click. Whoever's sitting here in the back seat then won't be able to get out or raise or lower the windows. Memory, seat memory. Get everything adjusted. You're going to press M. And then 1 or 2, you heard the little bink that happened there. That's how you set the memory seats. So you can do that as many times as you would like. Pretty much infinitely adjustable. 9 whole miles. Got a full tank of fuel. On our steering wheel here is our cruise control. We're going to go over that in a minute. We have our secondary control. So this menu will bring up all of our trip information. Let us switch between radio bands and media. We have our voice command here. Volume. Skipping tracks. This is kind of, the circle is the acknowledge button. So I turn the child locks off, and if I hit that here, it acknowledges that message up top. So there's where that kind of is. Anytime you do anything in this car, it's always going to come up with a message for you to acknowledge. If a door is unlocked, if somebody has unbuckled their seatbelt, if somebody's unbuckled in the back, that message appears from that little rhombus-like shape up top, and then you can zero it out with the circle right here. Also works as a mute for the stereo. On the signal stock over here, we have our turn signals. You have a button that says reset. Reset, if we press and hold that button, zeroes out the trip computer. Pretty easy. Tells me that I just zeroed it out, so I come down here, I hit my circle, acknowledge the message, it goes away. Headlights are on automatic. That's what this little textured ring is here. It's pointed towards auto. This car has automatic high beams, so if you're out in the country and you want the high beams to come on automatically in relation to other traffic, you turn it up, it comes back, and then my automatic high beam icon when the car is running It's going to start beeping at me like nuts here. Turn that on, so I did the little twist, and auto high beam appears up top here. So you're going to activate that every time that you want to use it. We have the flash to pass feature, so just kind of a bump of the turn signal gets us 3 quick flashes. Over on the wipers, I think basically the same as your S80. 1 down, 3 up. You would pull, as it shows in the icon here, towards yourself to spray the windows. You would push out or away from yourself to spray the rear window. And then this car has rain sensing wipers. So if I press where my index finger is, wipers do 1 swipe. By my graphic here, I've now activated the rain sensing wipers. So they're automatic at this point. So as rain starts to fall, it will automatically deploy the wipers. This little textured ring with the little hash mark on it is just adjusting, as you can see from the graphic there, how sensitive they need to be. So the higher up it is, the more sensitive they are. The lower, it's just on the normal setting. And on the back here, this little rocker switch does the rear window. Here's how we start and stop the engine. So foot on the brake, hit the start button, we fire up. Hit the button again to turn the vehicle off. Have our main controls here. Defrost, skipping tracks. You still have a volume knob, which I really like. This is going to be our temperature and air quality sensor, and this is the drive mode selector. You can hit this, and it changes up the character of the engine and transmission. You'll have an option for comfort, which is your standard setting. There's a dynamic setting, which is kind of your sport mode. There is an eco setting, so if you were looking for a little bit better fuel economy, you can utilize that. And then they have a setting for off-road. Off-road is a almost like a 4x4 low. It's all electronically controlled, the all-wheel drive in this car, but it's like a 4x4 low that's going to work up to 25 miles an hour. So if it's a particularly snowy day and you're trying to pull through a street that hasn't been cleared off yet, that might be something you utilize. Coming down here, this is our wireless charging pad. So you would just lay your phone down on this pad and it'll automatically start to charge. This is kind of just a little phone holder, basically. Your dual cup holders. And this is a little garbage bin that pulls out for easy cleaning. And in here, you recall, see the little icon in the middle of the screen there? It looks like a car key. You recall I said you can put the car key in the console if the battery's dead. Once we've gotten in with a little lock cylinder, that's where we would put it. Here we have our crystal gear knob by Orifers of Sweden. The gear shift, that's one of the things that's mainly different in this car that you haven't had yet. So I want to do a demonstration of that quick. If I start the vehicle, I'm not going to start it, I'm going to put it in accessory actually. So I press and hold the start button for about 10 seconds. Everything comes up, comes on. If I wanted to put the vehicle in drive, I would put my foot down on the brake and I would click back twice towards myself. So 1, 2. And now the vehicle, it's not going to do it now because the car's off, but you can see as I pull back, it goes into drive. If I were to go into reverse, it would be the opposite of that. I would push 2 forward. So 1, 2, and then I'm in reverse. Park is this button here. So that puts us back into park. So again, 2 back towards myself would be drive, 2 forward would be reverse, park. I'm going to hit the button for park, and now we are in park. So that is the difference. Hang on here 1 second. Dr. Khan, how are you?
Which way is the entry to service?
Service is right around the front of this building right there.
Oh,
So having come around the other side. So it's just right around this row of cars here, he'll be into service. Or we're going to open the door for you. Perfect. Just pull right in there, guys. You'll be fine. Always working. Sorry. Okay. We'll jump back in here. We're going to start this up. Vent the door here so we don't asphyxiate from carbon monoxide poisoning. That'd be bad. Okay, so again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. 2 back puts me in drive. 2 clicks forward. So 1, 2 puts me in reverse. Pulls up my backup camera. And then park is this little button here. And now I'm in park. Just want you to get very used to that because it's quite a bit different than what you're used to. On our rearview mirror, we have our garage door openers, our compass, a button for SOS and on-call. On-call is your connected car services. You're going to be able to remote start the vehicle, lock and unlock, locate the car, send navigation destinations to the vehicle, request roadside assistance, all that. You have 10 years of emergency crash notification. Focus, come on. Crash notification with Volvo. That's what the SOS button is here. Our dome lights here, pretty standard. This little green LED is lit up for auto. Basically just means when I open the door, they automatically fade in front and rear. As I close the door, they just gently fade out. And the sunroof. So right now we have our shade closed. The sunroof is kind of use the tip of your finger and you're going to push straight back. A lot of people push up. It's not up. If you push up, it will tilt. If you're trying to open it, you're going to push it straight back, like so. The shade will open first on the second successive press, and again, it is straight back. Not up, but straight back. I can't wait for people on YouTube to see this. They're going to be making fun of me all over the place, I'm sure. There will open our sunroof itself. I'm going to put the seat down here because whoever was in here had it all the way up and my head's hitting the headliner. To close is going to be a forward, so just kind of forward, and it's a good stiff press what you want to use there for this. Same thing to close the shade. The first press is going to close the glass, the second press is going to close the shade. Fairly easy. Got our glove box here with our window sticker. There's an extra little key there. The glove box is air conditioned. You pull this little switch back and now it's putting out air conditioned air. A little shelf here for your owner's manual. A little cloth here to keep the screen clean and free of fingerprints. And then the XC40 has a little utility hook that flips out so you could hang, you know, a purse or a bag or, you know, groceries or something like that on there if you wanted to. I suppose we should get into the screen. That's probably our next thing here. So, okay, the screen itself, it is touch capacitive. What that means is it works just like your smartphone. It is not pressure sensitive. You do not have to press it hard. Quite the contrary. In fact, it actually has an infrared grid on top of the screen. The reason that's relevant is even if you have your gloves on in the winter, which you really don't need because you have a heated steering wheel, it will still work. So it's not heat or pressure sensitive. Case in point, I'm wearing gloves, albeit they're very thin, but it still works with my gloves. So the main screen, we have our navigation, our media, our phone, and then the last item that we looked at from this right side. So what I want you to pretend is there's this screen, there's our safety items over here hiding, and there's our media items over on this side kind of hiding out. So we're going to get into that here. So navigation. So if I go into my navigation, it's going to bring up my map. Tells me what my current position is, where my car is right now. I still have this screen cover on, so little white bubbles covering it. I can blow this map up by pressing that little circle, drags it, so then the navigation becomes full screen. We're also going to make it to where we have it right in front of us here on the driver display. But if I wanted to enter a destination, I can hit set destination, and then I can do this a number of different ways. Recent places you put in, favorites, you can set favorites. So for instance, you can set a home address. You would just enter your address and hit set. There's a library, so you can save destinations if you go to a lot of different places. Points of interest. This is probably my favorite one, especially if you're somewhere where you're not from. You can look at points of interest near the vehicle. And let's say I'm looking for a restaurant near the vehicle, which right now all of our restaurants are closed, so you'd have to do carry out. But if I just wanted a drive-through restaurant and I'm looking for carry out at IHOP, it's going to show me all the IHOPs next to my vehicle in ascending order of distance. So I can hit this, it shows its position on the map, and I can hit start navigation. Once I do that,
the route is being calculated.
It talks to us. It tells us what route is being calculated, what our next move is going to be. And then here on our driver display, right smack dab in front of us, tells us what we're going to do next and where we are. Pretty slick. We can also cancel this because I don't know that you guys are going to IHOP, so we're going to get rid of that. This button here is your home button. So right now we're still in nav. If I want to get back to the main screen, I can hit this button again and it pulls everything back up. Radio. It's going to tune into all the FM stations that are in our range. What we can also do is we can swipe left and go from AM to FM to Sirius XM, which we have a 3-month trial of Sirius XM. I'm not sure that it's actually going to come up with anything since we're sitting inside a building. But what's interesting here is you don't have buttons for presets anymore. What you have is a library now. So if you go to your library, this is a bad example because we don't have XM signal. So let's go to FM. So I can go to my library in the FM menu, and I have all these little stars next to all the stations that are in my range. So if I want that, and I want 91.5 as my favorites, those are now in my favorites list. And what's cool about this is if, again, you swipe left, you now have a button for radio favorites that is just going to appear those two channels. So you have your presets in one big list, essentially, is what you're doing here. You can toggle back to regular FM just by pressing FM. You can toggle back to your radio favorites by pressing the radio with the little star button. And what I'm going to do is go into the library. I'm going to edit this and put both those in the trash can so you guys can have all your own favorites. And we're going to hit done. Okay. Phone. We're going to hit here. We're going to hit add a phone. And we're going to wait for it to find your phone. So as long as you have your Bluetooth on, you're going to press once your phone appears. And I'm going to do this with you standing 6 feet away so you have it. So at least I know your phone's paired. But that one's fairly easy. And then the last thing that we're looking at here, since we're sitting here idling, is our consumption and our usage. The reason this is here is we pulled it up from this menu on the bottom. So if, for instance, because this car has Harman Kardon, we can pull up the sound experience instead, then that takes over this bottom row. And you can change seat optimization, you can change how much surround sound you have, so you can just turn the surround sound on, change the level of envelopment. Your tone is here, so you've got a basic 3-band equalizer and then some other little preset modes for the sound. Okay, so here's our main screen. We went over this. Let's do the big one on the right side. So this one. All of your safety items are going to be in here. I would leave this exactly how you have it set right now. I wouldn't mess with any of it. You can always turn things on or off, but if I had the car, this is how I would have it set. The sport mode turns the traction control off. Not sure why you would need to do that. The lane keeping aid keeps you from leaving the lane. Park assist is the beepers, the sonar for the front and rear if you're approaching an object. So if I put it in drive, it sees the glass door, the panels in front of us, and the parking sensors are warning me. If I put it in reverse, now it's going to beep towards the rear because it sees the walls and everything behind us. So we're going to put it back in park. Screen times out, comes back to the other side. Cross traffic alert. So if you're backing out, we put the camera up. If someone's coming on either side of you down the lane, it'll flash a bright red light on either side of the car icon. And this car, since it has cross traffic with auto brake, will actually stop so that you don't back out in a parking lot and get T-boned by somebody, that you don't back out and run over a pedestrian who didn't hear the car because it's so quiet, etc. That's what it's going to do. Put it back into park. Blind spot. It's your blind spot monitoring that's actually over on the side view mirrors. So that's the blind spot light that lights up if someone's in your blind spot. Camera. If I want to bring up the rear view camera while I'm sitting, I can do that by hitting camera. And then I can zoom so I can look kind of straight down. I also have a 360 view. So what's cool about this is there's 4 cameras on the car. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that crop together this image. And what's neat is you can see how close to the curb you are over here, for instance. So if I press the car and I pull up the passenger side camera, now I can see over there how close to everything I am. So it's showing me that couch, and it's also showing me the floor. So if I put it in reverse and I start to move, you can actually see it showing where my tire is going to be. It's pretty slick. So if you're do a lot of parallel parking, you get close to curbs, you can get close to a curb without making contact with the curb. So that's kind of nice. You can also touch the car, hit the camera in front at any point, see how close we are to this front door that we have vented open, see off to my driver's side. So very useful little tool. We're going to come one step back, which is this right here. Headrest fold, just like your S80 probably does. You can hit this button and it drops the headrest in the rear. So if I hit the button, it drops them down. Makes for a little bit of easier visibility behind us. Our road sign information, it will always tell us what the speed limit is wherever we are. Does that off of GPS when the vehicle starts, and then it's part of the camera system up top here that will recognize road sign, speed limit signs. Cruise control, if you just want normal cruise control, you can turn that on, because remember, this car having the advanced package has adaptive cruise control, which we're going to go over here in a minute, and it also has pilot assist, which is kind of a semi-autonomous drive system. Private locking, you can set a code that keeps the boot lid from opening if you have something valuable in there that you don't want other people to be able to get to. Corner illumination has to deal with the fog lamps. So if I turn left, the left fog lamp comes on. If I turn right, the right fog lamp comes on. So left fog lamp, right fog lamp. Kind of an extra little turn signal, a little bit of extra illumination through a corner. Active bending lights, these are the fully LED active bending headlights. So they will turn through corners back and forth with you. Gives you a better view of the road. Wiper service position, exactly what it sounds like. You would hit that to bring the wipers up to service position. Collision avoidance assistance, one of those things we're glad you have, but hope you never have to use. It will actually actively try to avoid a head-on collision if it thinks that if you come out to pass someone and are coming by them, and there's a car coming the other direction, it'll actually look for a route to miss that head-on collision from happening. It's one of the only times it's really going to steer on its own. But again, we hope you never have it, but if you ever need it, we're glad that you do. Okay, we're going to come back. So we're going to hit our button. The cruise control. This is going to be a little tricky, but I'm glad you guys have a little bit of a drive on the way home to play with this. To set the cruise, we just press this button in the middle. There's no on or off. It's just set, and it's this guy right here. That sets your cruise. I have the left and the right arrow. So when the car starts, it's an adaptive cruise, meaning it keeps a set distance between me and the car in front. So I can shorten or follow closer, or I could lengthen and follow further out. If you hit this arrow to the right, it goes into pilot assist mode. Pilot assist does the same distance keeping properties for safety, so you can shorten and lengthen your distance, but it actually uses the camera system to read the road markings, and it will actively steer the car to keep you in a lane. The only requirement for this is that you have a hand on the steering wheel. So you have to let the system know that you're paying attention. But if you're going to drive back to Des Moines on the interstate, for instance, set it in pilot assist at 70 and just leave a hand here. It will keep you centered in the lane. It will take some curves on the highway, and it will keep you a set distance behind any cars that are in front of you. So it's a very relaxed way of doing a long haul drive. I've been across Iowa. I've been across Nebraska and back probably half a dozen times in the past 2 years. I've always been in a Volvo product. I've always used pilot assist. It has never put a foot wrong. So if you understand the system and know how it works and spend some time with it, it really is a great thing to have. It's going to take a little bit of a leap of faith on your part, but I think it's going to be something you guys really like. If you don't want to use it, you would just press this left arrow, and then we go back to adaptive cruise. So the left and the right arrows, if I go right, I'm in pilot assist, so distance and steering. If I go left, I'm in adaptive cruise, which is just distance. So pretty simple. Okay, one of the last things that we're going to go over here is kind of your homework. Up top here, you have these little 2 double lines. You're going to pull this down. Now here, we're going to set up your on-call subscription, so ignore that message. You have settings, you have an owner's manual, and you have a profile. Settings. Here's how we can reset a bunch of different systems, like the My Car, for instance. If you go into the My Car, you can change what the displays look like. You can change the display information. So if we want it to show us the map all the time, then it's up there in 3D. Can change the lights and the lighting. There's different levels of intensity for the interior lights. You can even change them by color. So if you wanted to change the interior lights to be purple, you can do that. I can change them to be green. You can do all kinds of funny stuff here. So pretty cool. So that was in the interior lights. So lots of different settings here. I want you guys to play around with that. The other things, I mean, mainly, make sure that that's checked before we get you here. There we go. Not a whole lot else I would really concern yourself with. It's mainly in the My Car. Maybe the sound, if you're somebody who likes to, you know, have a 9-band equalizer and really kind of get the sound dialed in, you can play with it. The other thing, so we're going to pull down from the top again. This is what I wanted you guys to have. This is probably going to be your biggest resource. I know I'm going past my 25 minutes here, but I'm hoping that a 35-minute video you can come back and kind of refer to, but I know I'm not going to be able to get everything covered in a 35-minute video. But here is your entire owner's manual, so you can actually go in and search. So let's say you wanted to search for how to program those garage door openers that are underneath your rear view mirror. Okay, I can do that. So here I can actually